Hello again. Well, this is our third fractions video. Now, previously we've looked at have you quite finished pulling funny faces? I should think so too. Now, we've previously looked at what is a half and what is a quarter. We've looked at there's half a triangle, there's a quarter when we did our shape video. We're now going to be looking at fractions of a number. So I know it's new, isn't it? Well, if I were to say to you what is half of 10, would you know the answer? I'm not sure if that is the right answer. Tell you what, shall I show you how we can work it out? Let's have a look, shall we? Now, if I need to make half of 10, I need to get 10 of something and then split them into half. So I've got 10 buttons here. Now, you might not want to use buttons. You might have counters. You might have little toys. Whatever you have around the house that you can split up. Now, let's just make sure I've got 10, shall I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's like a little 10 frame with buttons, isn't it? Now, for me to get half of 10, I need to split these 10 buttons into two groups. Now, the reason it's two groups is because when we write a half, it's 1 over 2, isn't it? So this 2 at the bottom means two groups. A bit like when we had our triangle, we had two, didn't we? Two halves. That was one half, that was the second half. And now we're doing half of the number 10. So we know we've got 10 buttons, so let's split them into two groups. So one for me, one for you. One for me, oh, one for you. One for me, one for you. One for me, one for you. One for me, one for you. Now here I've got two equal groups, haven't I? And it's very important that they're equal. If we had one left over, then I don't know if we could do that one. So let's see, we know we've got 10 altogether. Let's count how many we've got. So what is half of 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to count the other half to make sure it's the same number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I know that half of 10 is 5. Shall we try it with another number? Shall we try it with a bigger number? Let's try half of 20. So now I need 20 buttons. I hope you're able to see all this. Right, let's count them all to make sure I've got 20. 1, 2, 3, let's move these over. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. It's like a 20 frame of buttons. Now, it doesn't matter that they all look different as long as we've got 20 of them that we can split into half. So we're going to have to do it in the same way. So I'm going to do it here. So split them into two groups because it's the 2 for a half. So one for you, one for me. 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 I think I'm running out of space and I have to move them up a little bit. One for you, one for me. One for you, one for me. One for you, one for me. So I've got two equal groups. Let's count them all. Make sure we've got an equal amount in each group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it looks like half of 20 is going to be, oops, 10. Let's have a look at another number, shall we? Let's see if we can do half of 7. Let's see if we can do half of 7. So let's count 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to do this in exactly the same way. So 1 for me, 1 for you. 1 for me, 1 for you. 1 for me, 1 for you. Oh dear, we seem to have one left over, which means we can't have two equal groups, which means we can't do half of 7. I'm going to have to cross that one out because 7 is an odd number. And if we're halving something, we usually have to do it, well, we always have to do it with an even number. Because if it's an odd number, you're always going to have that one left over, aren't you? So let's try it with one more. We need to think of an even number, don't we? Let's try half of, well, we couldn't do 7, so let's try half of 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 8 there. So let's try half of 8. 1 for me, 1 for you. 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 Now I have got 2 equal groups here, haven't I? So I can get half of 8 because it's an even number. So let's count how many we've got in each group. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it looks like half of 8 is going to be 4. Well, that's what we get half of a number, and that's really great. But shall we try and make it a little bit more challenging for ourselves? Let's do 1/4 of 8. Now, first of all, let's get 8 buttons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I've got my 8. Now, because it's a quarter and not a half, I've got a 4 underneath, which means I need 4 different groups. Because when we did our shape, remember, we had 1/4, a 2nd quarter, a 3rd quarter, and a 4th quarter. 4 different parts. So we need to split 8 into 4 different parts. So 1st group, 2nd group, 3rd group, 4th group. 4 groups. 1st group, 2nd group, 3rd group, 4th group. 4 groups, and we've got 4 equal amounts, haven't we, in our groups? So let's count them and make sure they're all the same. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So out of 8 buttons split into 4 groups, each group, one of these quarters is 2, another one of these quarters is 2, another one of these quarters is 2, and another one of these quarters is 2. So I think we can safely say that 1/4 of 8 is a 2, isn't it? Shall we try another number? Shall we try a higher number? Let's try 1/4 of 14 and see if we can do that one. Now I need to count my buttons again and make sure I've got 14. It says 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So there's my 14. I need to put them into 4 groups. So 1st group, 2nd group, 3rd group, 4th group. 1st group, 2nd group, 3rd group, 4th group. 1st group, 2nd group, 3rd group, 4th group. 1st group, 2nd group. Oh dear, it looks like I've run out of buttons. So I can't do equal groups of 4 for 14. I get 2 left over. So I think we're going to have to forget 14 because we can't do 1/4 of 14 because we get some left over. So we're going to have to try another number. It doesn't always work. This is the tricky bit about fractions. So let's try 1/4 of 16, shall we? So let's make sure we've got 16. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There we go. So I've got my 16, 5, 10, 15, 16. It's very useful to count in 5s when you've got a big number, which is why I always lay them out like a 10 frame. So now we need to get 4 equal groups out of this 16. Let's see if we can do it and not have any left over. So 1st group, 2nd group, 3rd group, 4th group. 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 And I have none left over. So I can do 1/4 of 16. And let's see how many there are in each equal group. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Which means 1/4 of 16 is 4. So how did you find that? Do you now know how to get half of a number or a quarter of a number? You found the halves easier. Why did you find the halves easier? Because there were less groups. So I suppose you're just going 1, 2, 1 for you, 1 for me, like that. Whereas with 4, with a quarter, you've got to go first group, second group, third group, fourth group, back to first group again. So I suppose the halves are a little bit easier, but actually the more practice we get with both, the better we will be. Do you agree? And you don't have to use buttons. You could use pencil crayons. You could even use sweets like these. Oh, hang on a minute, hang on. After dinner, we'll maybe have a practice with sweets after dinner. We'll see how we get on. Now, I've actually set some for you to have a go at. So if I hold up this whiteboard with some sums on it, what you could do is pause the video and then go and have a go. Maybe get some buttons or pencils or sweets or little toys. Get 20, you won't have to do more than 20, that you can split up into groups. Exactly the way I did it when I showed you just now. So if I hold this up, you could either pause this and write them down, or pause it and a grown-up could write it down, or you could pause it and just keep the video on pause while you have a go at those. So we've got half of 4, half of 20, half of 18, half of 14, a quarter of 8, a quarter of 4, a quarter of 20 and a quarter of 12. So have a go at those, and it might be an idea to do all the halves first and all the quarters first, as it's our first time doing those. So see how you get on with those. Good luck everybody. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And if you wanted to really challenge yourself, because when I planned these, I made sure that they would all fit into equal amounts. You could maybe have a little experiment and see if you can find one where you can't get an equal amount. See if you can find the ones that are impossible to do. You prefer to have an equal amount. Well, when we're doing fractions, it is ideal to have an equal amount, but it's interesting to see the ones that aren't possible as well. Can you do one last funny face? What, for everybody watching? All right, I will allow one last funny face. Okay. Well, I hope that was fun.